Hi, my name is Sue Zago, and I'm the Law Library Director here at the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce Law Library. This introductory video will be talking about secondary sources, legal encyclopedias, ALRs, treatises, and legal periodicals within the context of your legal analysis and writing problem around First Amendment and high schools and substantial disruption. This is the first in a couple of different videos that will be walking you through finding case law and validating case law around this particular legal writing problem. Before you begin researching, here are some tips. The first is to read the scenario, but not just skim it, but actively read it with a pen in your hand and identifying and underlining or circling the keywords and the particular relevant facts in order to identify some possible legal issues or legal theories that you would like to explore. Be sure to annotate the fact pattern and work with it intently before you even start to research. As you look through the legal facts, it would be helpful to work on a timeline identifying what has happened, when, and to whom, and what were the legal consequences of those actions. It's also a good idea to list not only what you know, but also what you don't know and what you need to learn. Very often you're going to be dealing with a legal issue that is new to you, the boundaries of which can be nuanced and challenging. Secondary sources can really help in identifying the scope of the legal topic and some of the items that you really need to focus on, such as the appropriate rule or a particular test or some landmark cases within that topic. As you read your scenario, you will want to note the jurisdiction, meaning the state or the federal circuit that you are going to want to, that your scenario takes part in, and identify any references to primary law, statutes, or case law that you have been given. I've just outlined the basic research process here for you. As you'll note, brainstorming is pretty important. Brainstorming is your first action. You should brainstorm some certain terms, some basic terms that will help you unlock the secondary sources. Think about not so much the facts, but the legal issues and how they are presented. So in this particular instance, there's a freedom of speech issue, and it's happening to students within a high school. So those two, what has happened as well as to whom it has happened, are very important in identifying your legal issue in this case. Once you review the secondary sources, which will provide you with some analysis and context, you'll want to revise your brainstormed list. In the secondary sources, you'll also be looking for terms of art, legal terms, things that can really help you identify how a topic is phrased and addressed in the legal community. After you revise your brainstorm list, you will want to use that material to find primary law cases or statutes that will help you frame and support your arguments. And then you will want to use Keysight or Shepard's to validate your cases. Validating meaning to ensure that the cases are still good law, that they haven't been overturned or criticized significantly. And you can also use these reports to find more cases that are relevant. So what are secondary sources, and how do they fit into this? What types of secondary sources are out there? You've probably already heard this from Professor Kavicki in your legal research class, and this is just a quick reminder. And for these videos, we're going to be looking not at IP secondary sources, but on secondary sources that are more in tune with constitutional law and educational law. As you know, treatises or books on legal topics are a good place to begin your research or to find an answer to a question, and they'll help you save time by providing explanation, analysis, and tips on the most relevant primary sources. In addition, there may be practice guides that are helpful. Mostly practice guides are state-specific and are known by titles such as New Hampshire Practice or New Jersey Practice or South Carolina Practice. They are written by practitioners for practitioners and delve deeply into how a particular state's law is formed and maintained. The next type of secondary sources that we're going to take a look at are of more general jurisdiction, and the one that I would like to talk about right now is legal encyclopedias. There are two of them that are worth your attention: American Jurisprudence Second and Corpus Juris Secundum. They both provide brief, broad summaries of legal topics with introductions explaining relevant terms of art and citations to relevant primary law, as well as major law review articles. Both AmJur and CJS are published by West and therefore on Westlaw. West also licenses AmJur Second to Lexis. So you can get AmJur in both Lexis and Westlaw, but CJS is only in Westlaw. The next one I wanted to talk about was American Law Reports, or ALR, which contains in-depth articles on narrow topics. And these articles are called annotations, and they provide background, analysis, and citations to relevant cases, statutes, law review articles, and other sources. The real boon, I think, is in their jurisdiction chart and their index. Both tools provide a very deep look into the annotation, are easy to use, and in the case of the jurisdictional chart, you can identify, say for instance, if the Third Circuit has 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 relevant cases on a particular subtopic of the annotation. It's really helpful. Their ALR annotations are published in Westlaw and in Lexis, and are easy to navigate both topically. And then we have the law journals or law reviews, which can be a great secondary source that provide in-depth scholarly analysis and critique of the law, and also indicate extensive references in the footnotes that include primary sources. So they're a great place to identify how a law has developed and where to find a law due to their extensive footnotes. They have lengthy articles and some shorter essays by professors and lawyers, and comments and notes or developments in the law written by students. They often focus on new or emerging areas of law and can provide a critical commentary. They're also very easily found. They're in Westlaw, they're in Lexis, they're also in Hein Online, and can be easy to locate for the average researcher. Also, it should be noted that some law reviews are dedicated to a particular topic, such as IP or gender in the law or constitutional law or environmental law, and will include in their contents the proceedings of panels or symposia on some timely legal issues. So it can be super helpful to get your hands on some of those articles. All right, so let's turn to our legal issue at hand. This is the research scenario from your legal writing materials. We're looking at a student, Casey Williams, a senior at Montrose High School on the Coast School District of South Carolina, who's suing his principal and the school district for violating his First Amendment rights. Casey and his friends wore Black Lives Matter t-shirts to school as a form of silent protest by recent shootings by school officers. The students' lunch table was surrounded by counter-protesters and supporters clapping and chanting. The principal asked Casey and his friends to take off or cover their t-shirts to end the disruption to school. Below you'll see a terms and connectors or Boolean search that I've created that helps to frame this legal issue. In the next videos, one on Lexis and one on Westlaw, I'll demonstrate how to find secondary sources on this topic. Stay tuned.